Hi, my name is Jim Thompson, and today we're going to be tying the Humpy or Goofus Bug. Tie a few wraps on here, just get them started. I'm just overlaying the wraps in the front for the wing. And you want to start that wing probably about, maybe a 1/16 of an inch from the eye of the hook. You can trim off. I'm going to tap down the hair so the tips are even up. And what I'm going to do is take that hair stacker and I'm going to pull out the tips so that they are pointing toward the direction where I'm going to be tying in the hair. You can see that's about the same as the gap of the hook, the number of fibers there. And then I'm going to move my fingers up to the point of the tie-in. And I'm just going to bring that hackle through my fingers just at a, and I made one loose wrap, and I'm going to kind of pull that tight toward me. I'll make some more wraps in there, kind of just snugging up as I'm pulling it toward me. And then I'm going to take and just clip the back end of those fibers, just like you would. That's different as I'm going to take and I'm going to build up some thread right in front of these fibers. So I'll build up kind of a little bit of a ball in front of those fibers so that those hairs stand up. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to the side so you can see this. I'm just taking my thumb and pushing down on those fibers so I can kind of split them in half. And I'm going to take the thread and just kind of go around the fibers that I split in half. I'm going to make one wrap, two wraps around, and then I'm going to make kind of a figure eight and do the same thing on the other wing. One, two wraps around, and then you can do a figure eight through there. And what I normally do is I try and get these, so I get a couple wraps so that those wings will start to shorten up as far as the spread on them. You can see that wing is on the left is still pretty big, and what I'm going to do is go around that one once, twice, three times. You can see those fibers start to come together. 4 times, 5 times. Then what I'll do is I'll pull those fibers up, grab those in my left hand. I'm going to lay the stack right in the middle of my wings. So now I've got, and I'm going to start wrapping forward. I'm using fairly loose wraps, not really hard wraps at this point. I'm just doing loose wraps because I don't want that tail to flare too much. And just kind of bringing those loose wraps forward. And then I'm going to just go back kind of toward the tail end section. And I want to make sure I get that tail tied down kind of right at the bend of the hook. And then I'm going to take this part of the tail and I'm going to fold it right back toward the base of the tail. And I want to make sure I keep that pinched pretty good, because what this is going to be is actually the underbody of the fly. On a Goofus Bug, you've got deer hair. On a You know, if you're doing a humpy, you want to do that kind of the same color as what your thread is. So if you're going to do a yellow humpy, you're going to tie that in with kind of a loose wrap to begin with, and then just work your way toward the front. And you can see there's kind of a little gap in there. That's going to actually be covered up when you bring your section of tail forward. What I'm going to do is just take the cradle, and if you have a rotating vise, this really works slick. You can take that 4-strand of floss and just work your way forward. Some of these flies you can actually do, you know, just a thread body. I actually like to use floss because it gives it just a little more, kind of a little flash to it. Just take your thread and unwrap, or you can just take it over the top and make a few wraps either side of the floss to tie it off. Take your scissors, go ahead and clip the... Now this is where, you know, you're taking the materials that you'd actually tie it in with your tail. You're going to bring those forward right between the eyes of or between the wings. And if you don't have, you know, just to get it started, make 3 or 4 wraps, and you can kind of adjust this body a little bit as you're coming forward. And what I do is I take these white stubbles that I've got for my back material and kind of pull them back, and then just take your scissors, go ahead and clip those excess fibers out of there. You're going to have a few fibers that are in there. You can actually take and pull those out with your fingers, or you can go back in later on and kind of just adjust those up. I've got actually the feathers, the bottom side of the feather actually facing toward me, or the dull side facing toward me. And then I've got a little section, you can see this little section up here of the section of the hackles. I'm going to tie those in up at the front. And I want to make sure I get a pretty good wrap up there in the front, because I want this wing to really stay up and face upward. And then I'm going to bring my thread all the way back up to the eye of my hook. I'm going to take both of these hackles and I'm going to turn my vise, and if you're doing this by hand, you could actually take and just wrap both of these at the same time, and you want to get a couple wraps in the back behind the wings, and then pull your wings back and actually bring your hackles up in front of the wings and do just a couple of wraps up in front. And the wing should be just a little longer than your hackle. And then I'm just going to take and overwrap those hackles right up in the front. I'm going to push my bobbin cradle just out of the way. And I'm just making a couple wraps over the top of the hackle. And then I'm going to take and just snip the hackle right up in the front. Flip those off. And then you're going to take and do your whip finish. You can do whip finish or you can do half hitches. And this fly actually calls for doing some head cement work on it, but I haven't found that's really necessary unless you're you're tying for somebody else. You might want to have them a little more sturdy, a yellow, a Goofus Bug, or a Humpy.